Hello, hello, hello. Pat Zemer here with MagnaWave. How are you all doing today? Here for our Tuesday edition of MagnaWave Office Hours, being brought to you today on Facebook Live, YouTube, Castbox, and other folks. Rob's with us from Alberta. Hello, Rob. Liliane, aloha, everyone, is with us as well. And glad that you're here. MagnaCon's coming up in just a couple of weeks or a few weeks, about 3 weeks coming up. And we're excited about that. Things are loosening up here in Kentucky, so we're really excited about being able to go to Churchill Downs and have a good time and have some great speakers and live contact, plus the virtual MagnaCon. So if you're still looking for tickets, go to the MagnaCon, MagnaWave or MagnaCon.com, and you can get your tickets, or you can go to MagnaWave PEMF, and it's on there as well to secure your tickets for the virtual event. At this point, maybe we can get an update from Elaine, but there's been no changes in what they'll allow us to have live, although a lot of things in Kentucky are opening up 100% live in 100% attendance in June, so that may have an impact here on us right at the end. But at any rate, stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Tracy's with us today. Hello, Tracy. And Norma's with us from Kansas, and hello from Jacksonville, Florida. Maureen's with us today. Kelly's with us from Wisconsin. And Grand Performance Solutions just can't wait for coming to MagnaCon. So we're very excited about that. We're going to do something new today. So if you'd like to talk with me, we got a new number for you to text. We want you to text your name and your question to the number. And that number is, there it is, 502-414-3436. And then I'll be able to call you back and I'll see your question, and we'll be able to get everything answered and have a good time and a good conversation. We are going to give away some things for the callers today. I don't know what that is. Chris, you might want to bring me up to speed on that as to what you want to do. We can do books, we can do gear, whatever you think. Just kind of let me know, and we'll be maybe put it in the chat box, and we'll be able to go from there. Let's see if we have any questions or comments at this point today. There's the comments coming up. No questions as yet that I can see. So if you have a question, put it in the chat box, and I'll be able to answer it for you, or certainly try to answer it. If you'd like to talk to me, text the name and number to 502-414-3436. If someone could do that, this would be the first time we do it. It'd be great if you could send that through. We can have a little conversation, test out the system, make sure everything's working well. And Emily's with us on Castbox this morning, and we're certainly glad that the folks are with us on Castbox. Okay, I'm trying to think about some things that have been going on. It's been kind of a crazy week. Got graduations going on, all kinds of stuff happening. So it's kind of been, Lane's been out of town. She took a quick little trip to do some hiking in Denver, which turned out to be a good trip. But then all of a sudden, you got to realize there's an altitude adjustment when you do that. And so it takes a few days to adjust. But if you're only there for a few days, it can be a bit of a challenge to make those types of adjustments. But at any rate, Lane's back in the office today, and we're glad for that. And everybody's moving right along. Okay, looks like we have a call here. Let me click on that and see what we got. Missed call. Didn't get all their information. Again, if you'll send me a text, 502-414-3436 with your name and question, then I'll be able to help you with that at that time. Let me see. Is there any way to get a new filter for my Soul? I clean it, but it's looking rough. Sure, Jessica, we have those filters that we can get for your fan. If you'll just contact Lee in customer service, and she can take care of that. Make sure that you get a new filter. As long as you wash them out, though. If you wash it, I know it may be looking rough, but if you wash it out with soap and water, rinse it out, let it dry well, you can continue to use that filter on the machines that clips onto the top of the fan. But give us a call at the office, and 888, I believe it's 888-333-MagnaWave. Is that correct, Chris? To be able to talk with the customer service folks. Let's see. Do you have any recommendations for people with, wait a minute, do Dupuytren disease, red light MagnaWave combination of. Well, I need to look that up here, which I'll do, and then we can discuss exactly what the disease is. And probably a combination of the two would be fine. Certainly, let me take a look here and we'll read more about it. Yes, 833 MagnaWave for the office. 833 MagnaWave to reach the office, and they will be happy to help you with anything you need with regard to filters or parts or service or questions, whatever it may be. Okay, hello LTC from Arizona. Glad that you're with us. Lacey's with us this morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here. It's morning in Arizona, but it's noon here in Kentucky. But the weather is nice. A lot of things going on, as you know, the Kentucky Derby and now the Preakness. A lot of good questions. We've had a lot of questions about all of that type of situation with regard to the Derby and now the Preakness and now the Belmont coming up in a few weeks as to the Bob Baffert story and so forth. But we've had a lot of questions, a lot of conversation about that. Okay. It is tightening, let's see, tightening of the flesh beneath the skin of the palm and can result in permanently bent fingers. Okay, yes, we have had some folks that have had that indication or that type of situation, and we've used the MagnaWave, and I would assume, again, that the LZR would be very effective to treat those areas, to kind of loosen things up and be able to get some better flexation of the muscles and the tendons in the hands. Now, certainly it depends how long someone has had it, to how severe the indication is and what's going on, but certainly to help the blood circulation and the blood flow to the area and allow the body to relax that area and help potentially heal itself or not get any worse would be something that could certainly be approached with the MagnaWave. We had a practitioner several years ago that had a horse riding companion that was having such an issue, and it was really debilitating, and they were able to use just the MagnaWave to get some good relaxation of the muscles and the in that area to relieve things and to make it better. Again, as I said, it's got a lot to do with how long the situation has been there and what else is going on. And yes, they just wrote back and gave me a description, so I didn't have to look it up. Thank you very much. Jason, morning. Thanks for being with us this morning, Jason. And let's see if we have anything else. I've been working on a calf that will not use his back legs. He is buckled in his hocks. I have been working on his lower back for 15 minutes, moving the Zoom paddle. I haven't seen much progress within 3 treatments. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, when you have a situation like that that's been there for a while and you've got a lot of inflammation in the fascia and the cartilage and the tendons, you're going to have to just be after it to get some relief. It could take several treatments to begin getting that to get to relief or loosen up to where you can begin to see a real change. If it was brand new, just happening, 1 or 2 treatments may be able to get after it and improve the situation or make it more easily dealt with. But if it's been there for a while, it may take certainly more than 3 treatments. My recommendation would be to do 5 to 7 treatments in a row every day or 2 times a day for 5 or 6 days to just stay on it and stay concentrated on it. You might need to have a good intensity to get the penetration and get the relaxation that you're looking for, but it could take several days to get that thing to loosen up to be able to get some relief. In many cases, as we all know, that 1 or 2 treatments will quite often begin to show some relief and allow things to be able to be dealt with. But in some cases, it's just going to take more time. And so that's kind of my recommendation here. Be more treatments more often for 5 to 7 days, and then you'll have an idea as to what's going on. In those types of cases, as I pointed out, it doesn't hurt to go 1 or 2 a day, as much as possible, actually, to be able to get after that type of situation. Hola from the San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you for being with us. Shane is with us today. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Okay. Let's check my phone calls here, see if we have anything come in on the, nope, it's still a missed call. And the number is 502-414-3436. Text me your name and question, and I will be able to, oh, we got a thing here from April. Let's give April a call. Let's test this out here and see what happens. Let me give a call here, get April to answer. And good, here's the first test. We're checking it out. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's ringing. There we go.
Hello?
Hello, April. How are you?
Yes, good. How are you?
I'm great. Did you have a question for me this morning?
Yes. So last week I had a riding accident and broke my leg in 5 places.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had surgery and I had a rod and screws put in my tibia. And of course they left the fibula alone because it has to heal on its own. My surgeon has okayed MagnaWave.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I've started doing 30 minutes a day with the large loop.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, should I be switching up my attachments? Is 30 minutes enough a day? I have a soul.
At this point, I don't know that I'd worry about switching up attachments. I'd switch up the intensity. That's a little easier for you to do. Just running at different intensities each day. It doesn't have to be a severe difference in intensities. I mean, you don't have to run it low today and high tomorrow. Just change up the intensities as you use that device to keep the tissue fresh to what you're going to be doing. And you have the machine. I'd do it twice a day. I would treat twice a day. 30 minutes would be ample. You don't have to go crazy, and you don't have to go high because I'm sure you're still somewhat sore, obviously, and you want to be comfortable. You want to make sure you're comfortable. So if you spend a couple of weeks on a very low setting, but yet it is getting the penetration, you'll be ahead of the game. Don't think that you have to put it all the way up to become uncomfortable to get the result that you're looking for. But my goodness, 5 breaks. I'm sorry. You sound good.
Thanks.
So what happened? Tell me what happened.
I had a horse that just kind of went berserk on me, and after he bucked me off, he stomped on me.
Oh my. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And how's the horse? Did the horse do okay?
Oh yeah. He actually is gone. He went to a new home.
I wasn't going to ask that question, but I wondered about asking that question. So you helped me out with the question. Well, I'm so sorry that, what kind of time's the doc talking about? 6 to 8 weeks?
6 weeks at least, non-weight bearing. So.
Non-weight bearing. Okay. Well, you might do better than that, but still, this will be very beneficial to help you heal, the way you want to heal it up. Well, I'm so sorry that you've had that situation. Send us an email at support@MagnaWave PMF. We'll get you some gear, and make sure to put your name and address on the email.
All right. Thanks.
April, I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, we got another call from Liani, call regarding press around MW as an alternative treatment that Elaine says has much interest after the Kentucky Derby Medina Spirit incident. Okay, yes, let's get Liani on the phone here. Liliani.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Pat. How are you?
I'm great. Tell me how to properly pronounce your name.
You guys are so cute. It's Leilani.
Leilani.
Right.
Got it. Leilani.
My package I sent you.
I did get it, and I'm looking forward to visiting with you at MagnaCon.
Oh, same here. I was so excited because last week, I guess Elaine was saying you had all this press in regarding to, because of the incident using the MagnaWave as alternative treatment. I thought was great press, but then I didn't see anything that was posted, so I thought I'd ask you about that.
Yeah, no, there are several different stations did interviews that I did interviews with 3 of the local stations, and they've gotten pretty good play. I know that they're available probably on the website for people to watch those interviews. It was interesting. I mean, we don't want to speak about things to try to separate the people. We want to speak about things where people can come together and understand that there are alternatives. There are alternatives that work well with given regularly established medicine procedures that can work very well together. So it was interesting to see that. Certainly there was a heightened awareness as to what's going on, and I'm sure there's been a lot of articles nationally talking about the thoroughbred racing business and what should be done and how it's going to be how it's going to play out in the future with regard to the thoroughbred racing. But we are certainly, and it has been our action from the very beginning, to be an alternative, to be able to supply not only to the people that are heavy into the racing, but as you know, people with performance horses and horses, trail riding horses that have some issues, but either they don't want to spend the money, they don't have the money, or they don't want to use traditional medicine, they want to use integrative approach. That's kind of where we're looking to help people out in that regard.
Exactly, because, you know, I handle the polo performance horses, so I had much more interest after this, to be honest, because they're like, wow, you know, tell me about where before all the guys know what they don't know, but now I'm getting interest because, you know, obviously they have to look for alternatives themselves, because obviously some of the guys don't want to, you know, do what they've been doing. Maybe, I have no idea, but I just saw much more increase is what I'm saying in the using alternative, which of course, hooray, right, for us is what we want, right, is so holistic. And
well, it's interesting, you know, one of the things that alternative methods allow is for continual usage. You know, so often we're into a situation, you have a headache, you take your 3 aspirin or whatever you do, and then you're done until you have the next headache. You're not thinking about whatever stresses you're encountering, that you can change your stress levels and maybe not have a headache. And the same thing with physical aspects, where they give medications or injections or wraps, whatever they're doing. When they're not doing that, they can use alternative methods, MagnaWave, acupuncture, LZR light, all types of things to help the animals before they get into those situations that they need heavier dosage or whatever. So that's the interest that's really been piqued, is that people maybe start looking at, oh, there are really alternatives that really work.
Exactly. Great analogy. Thank you so much
for
all you guys do. And,
well, thank you.
And I appreciate it. And I love office hours. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you in a few weeks, Leilani, and we'll visit.
Sounds good, Pat. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, this is working pretty well. We've had a couple of calls this morning, and I'll be able to, it's easier not to have another phone here and to do it. We're doing it all on the computer. So I got the interface in front of me. So it's just an easier thing to do. Let me jump back over here and see if we've got any questions. Oh, okay. Yes, we've got a question. Over the years with PEMF therapy, what seems to be the reasons why certain people have experienced no responses towards the energy? I have recurring soft tissue injury from my right foot recently for over a month, which took me over a month to have high dosage anti-inflammatory drugs to release the pain, but swelling is still there. If this is edema, why won't PEMF work for me? Well, you know, Ivy, there's a lot of situations physically with each person's body as to why something is inflamed and what's going on. And it's very difficult to maybe not be on your foot or your leg or keep it up, and which is just as important quite often as the treatments. You know, if you've got a spur on the bottom of your heel and you can treat the heel and treat the spur, relieve the inflammation, it feels better, but you're going to go walking on it immediately and the pain's going to return immediately, and the indication will be there. So you can talk about, could there be a chemical, something going on in the body that's kind of keeping this tight or keeping it in place? And it is so true. And you know, we all don't want to, if this helped everything all the time, guaranteed, I'd be in Hawaii or Florida and not have to worry about doing this, because everybody would be using it all the time. Unfortunately, there are times that there are indications that are just really difficult to get to. People have situations going on chemically. They have all kinds of things that kind of resist what's happening. Maybe they don't have the opportunity to use it enough. You have a device, and so you're able to do it more often. It took 90 days when we were dealing with my wife's herniated discs in her back, 90 days of treatments to where we would get it to where she would have a month's worth of relief and in a row. And so it can take time. And I hate to say that, I want it done in 1 or 2 treatments, obviously, or, that's what all the customers want, help it in 1 or 2 treatments and I'm good. But sometimes it's going to take more. Sometimes it takes a lot more, depending on the situation. When you have situations that involve the nerves and the tendons, it's much harder to get inflammation out of a nerve or tendon or cartilage than it is to get inflammation out of your soft tissue. So while you may be getting inflammation out of the soft tissue, the nerves and so forth can take a long time for that inflammation to leave. That can stock everything up to get the inflammation that you're saying is not going away. Be persistent. Stay with it, and hopefully we'll be able to get after it to give you the relief that you're looking for. But there's a lot of side factors that come into play here, and without discussing it in much more detail, that's about as close as I can get at this juncture to help you out. And Ivy, so I hope that helps. And for those of you, again, it can take a long time, which we don't always want, but it can take. The more you do it, the better off typically it will be. And Ivy says, crazy thing is that this is a reoccurring problem in 3 years for me, and my doctor has no clue how I can prevent this problem. So if it gets better and worse, again, you're right. Your doc's thinking about the same thing. What can we do and how to get after it? And so often it's just, my wife's herniated disc, they're there. Can't get rid of them, and so it's just there. So no matter, we get relief for 3 to 4 weeks, but when she goes and plays with the grandkids or goes and works in the yard, she comes in and she's a little sore and she needs to treat herself. And before it gets too bad to where it becomes very debilitating for her. And that's just the case that a lot of us deal with. It may be something that you have and you have to deal with for a long time. And unfortunately, but that sometimes is the case. Lisa says, I use a Zoom paddle a lot. Just got the Zoom box over the weekend. Love it. Well, great. Lisa, thanks for sharing that. Maureen talks about that the Zoom paddle always slays the migraines. And we've had that. A lot of people have very good luck with the Zoom paddle on the back of the head or different locations, wherever it works for them the best to use for migraines and various types of headaches. How can I address face shingles? Okay, let me see. How can I address face shingles recovery? I own a Pulse Pro. My mom had them 2 years ago. Tremendous nerve damage near the right eye. Thank you in advance. I would use the butterfly loop. I would put it on the right area here over the eye. I would treat it on a very low setting, and I would do it continually to try to get after that. If the nerves are damaged beyond repair, and that could happen when you get those types of situations, kind of like neuropathy and different things, if the nerves are damaged to the point that it's going to be tough to get them to be healthy again, and if they are atrophied to the point that they cannot recover, then you've got a situation that's going to be very difficult to deal with. The NASA study did show some nerve regeneration using PEMF and the MagnaWave types of devices. But again, depending on the amount of damage is going to regulate or dictate as to how much you can have. I would suggest also, if you have an LZR, to be able to use the LZR, you can close your eye. I wouldn't look into the LZR, but you can close your eye, put the LZR right on your face like this, and treat accordingly. And do the same thing, alternate between the LZR and the MagnaWave to get the different forms of energy into that area to hopefully reinvigorate the nerves and the areas that are causing the problems. with your mom, and so that's how I would take a look at it. Hope that helps. Shingles are a real challenge, and they are inflammation. I remember several years ago we were at a conference in Phoenix, and a woman was having some shingles on her midsection here, and we used the MagnaWave and got her some relief. But we really had to have medication to get at it from the inside as well. But we were able to supply some instantaneous relief to the area that was itching, becoming inflamed, and so forth. It's not going to be, in many times in those type situations, it's going to take a medical situation plus the improvement of blood flow and blood oxygenation that we bring to the table to assist in those types of situations. Just received notice that my Semi 5 has shipped. Yay. I see that there is a new line of Semi machines coming soon. Is there any info that you can share on the differences between the old and new lines? They're going to be very similar. As I've been traveling here, I've not been with the new Semi 5 to really experience the difference, but they're going to be very similar to the current Semi 5. It's just changing some of the programming, some of the controls to make it a little different or to make it, a little more versatile. But that's the only primary difference between the devices. You'll be very happy with your Semi 5, and we're glad to see that it's coming, Karen. And that's great. Let's see here. Brain tap, Marines, there must be a separate conversation going on here with the brain tap and some of the things talking about headaches that I've not seen. I had someone with no prior tooth problems end up with a toothache after a treatment on shoulder, neck area. Not quite sure why that was. Well, and we've talked about this, and it's in the training. Sometimes when you're helping the blood flow, you're helping free up an area, if there's an underlying condition that is there that's getting ready to surface, sometimes our type of therapy can bring things to the surface sooner than later. And a lot of times people look at that as a good thing because we can find out, particularly when you're dealing with horses and animals, small animals, they won't tell you there's a problem. Now, as a person, we can say, I'm having this tooth problem and you treated me and I got all this going on. Now it's there a little more pronounced. Well, because you're pushing things around it and you're just bringing it more to the surface. An animal doesn't necessarily tell you that until they can't walk, until all of a sudden today they're running around very happy and tomorrow they won't get up, won't eat, won't do anything because it's just been building. But if there's something going on and we treat, sometimes it'll come to the surface a little more rapidly, and then we can deal with it in a natural manner and get rid of it. We're not going to cause any of those situations. We don't cause anything. We just help the body be in a better position to show you something or to work to heal itself in a better fashion. And that's what happens sometimes in those types of situations. So a great question that you brought to the surface. But again, it's not going to do anything in that area. All we're doing is putting energy into the area and do it. But if there's something there that's, like I was saying, bubbling under the surface, and you put some energy in there and it says, okay, I'm bubbling under the surface. Now I'm going to bubble to the surface and you have to get me fixed, which you want to do anyway when you have those types of situations. Okay, let's see. Is a MagnaWave safe to use on someone with a power port? I don't exactly know what you mean by a power port. If someone has a port that they'll plug something into to read a device, we're not going to do anything to the port. Where we get into a situation, whereas if it's a device that is implanted battery that it has a specific lifespan, we don't want to run that battery down. If it's a chargeable battery, and so the person can use the treatment and then recharge their battery and then use their device or do what they're doing, totally different type situation. As we know with some new pacemakers that are being used, they're called dual pole, or I don't know exactly how they describe them, but we're able to, doctors are telling us you can treat someone a foot away from the pacemaker, which would be the hips, knees, ankles, that type of thing, elbows, hands, that you can be a foot away, 12 inches away from the pacemaker. And so there's a lot of versatility that is coming, new technology that is coming with how things are controlled. So that's the question on the power port, and specifically what it's doing. And if you can have that, if you can get a little more clarity there, and send me an email or send a message to that text message to the number I gave you, the 502-414-3436, I can answer it next week, because we'll be able to now archive these messages, and so we can approach them next week and answer those calls and those questions. All right, let's see. Chemical medication, power port for chemical medication. So there again, so they're using this to put chemical medication into the body. And then my next question is it chargeable? Is it with a battery? Is the battery with the medication, but it plugs into the power port? And then you go from there. So there's just a few more things that we need to probably look at to make sure that it's correct. And a lot of times you can look online, the doctors will tell you you can use this around this or not around that. And there was a question I read this morning where someone was talking about someone that's got an implant that they've been told not to go through the radars at the airports, not to be around various types of devices. And they said, can I use my MagnaWave? The answer is no. You want to, if you can't go through an X-ray at the airport, or you can't be around specific types of equipment in your home or out in the world, then we want to play on the safe side and not have any problems with that. Now, again, when they've got this implanted in their body and they go through a whole X-ray type situation, then you're getting X-rayed top to bottom and you're putting those signals in. If we're doing an ankle and it's a couple of feet away, the signals are not necessarily going into that device. So there's ways to have those conversations with your doctor to know what's going on and to get some freedom as to how you might be able to use something or when to use it. That, again, going into a full X-ray type situation or an MRI, which is full body, not just your elbow. It changes the situation, how things can be used, and we need to look at that. Oh my, here's a long one. I've recently been working on a horse with a horrible laceration on its shoulder, big enough to put your hand in. The top half was stitched up and the bottom was left open to drain. Day one, I went about a week after it happened, and there was a lot of swelling and not much drainage. When I went 2 days later, no swelling and a lot of drainage. After 8 sessions, it's almost healed. I work full body and then address the cut area an additional 15 minutes. Fairly low. I have the Pulse Pro. I've been amazed. I'm amazed. I love hearing those types of statements and testimonials. And that is so often. I've seen, in my years doing this since 2002, I've seen some situations where there have been horrible open wounds on horses and animals that we've watched close up. And I once had a horse that was bitten, we believe, by a brown recluse, and it was a spot on the back of the horse, just in the middle of its back, probably about the size of a softball. And we were able to get that thing closed and have it. It never got to where we got hair back, but we got it down to where it was closed, where the animal would relax. I mean, the animal couldn't get to it, so he'd roll around. We'd just make it dirty, and we'd try to dress it. He'd roll the dressings off. So it was just a real challenge from that type of situation. But we've seen some wonderful things happen when you can improve the oxygenation and the blood flow to open wounds. So thank you so much, Beth, for sharing that information. It's always great. It's good for the new people to learn from. Marwa, the number is 502-414-3436. 502-414-3436. And we'll visit, send me your name and a question, and I'll call you right back. Lori asked the question, what is the best way to treat psoriatic arthritis? Move from the right hip and back to both hands and wrist. Left hand is deteriorating more quickly, and the doctor wants to use a cancer pill to treat. Well, I would treat every place that you're having a situation, and I would also treat full body. You want good blood oxygenation to be moving through that person's body or that animal's body for a good number of hours once you've completed. If you do just the hands, you're helping the hands, but you need good blood oxygenation in the whole body for the good feeling of wellness and to help the body be in a position to potentially help itself. If they're going to use the cancer pill to treat, obviously they're thinking that's going to go in and kill some things, attack some things, to maybe freeze some situations up. You can treat at the same time as they are doing that. Clear that with the doctor. Make sure you're on page with the doctor as to what you're doing it, when you're doing it, so on and so forth. But that's the challenge. When you have something that's moving the body like that, it's a challenge to track it, to stay with it, and to stay on it enough. You could be dealing with a situation there, as I was talking earlier, it could be a daily, twice a day thing for a period of time to get ahead of what's going on. Are you going to be able to get at that once a week? It's going to be tough. And so that's where the situation comes down to what's the best way to approach that with your customers. Okay, let's come over here to voice and see what we have. Well, we got a couple of them here. Let's go to Wendy. Let's see if we can get Wendy up. Here we go. We're calling Wendy. Well, I like this new system. It's pretty cool.
Hello?
Hey, Wendy. Pat Ziemer.
Oh, hi, Pat. How are you?
I'm good.
This past weekend, I worked on a horse. I have a Julian,
Uh-huh.
and I only used it on a one setting.
Okay.
I used the large wave wings.
Okay.
He absolutely, jumped like he was electrocuted. I was like, what? And this is a horse that was, that has been MagnaWaved before in the past, not by me. So the owner told me what settings and everything.
Here's the difference.
So
Here's the challenge. The wave wings, the large wave wings, even though you've got them low, you're stimulating a huge amount of tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even go ahead.
So then I immediately switched it to the butterfly loop.
Okay.
With the butterfly loop on a one, I still couldn't get within 4 inches of it without seeing a ton of resistance. So
When you say a ton of resistance, was he moving away?
Oh, he was moving away. His shoulder was shaking, all the way down his he had a lot of resistance. So I stopped.
How were his eyes?
And I spoke. Actually, I didn't take notice of his eyes, but what I did then, I spoke to the trainer till I stopped, and they asked if I did it on the cement floor or did I do it in the stall, because the stall had the rubber mats.
Uh-huh.
And they said, oh yes, he can be sensitive, because if you take off, he's a horse that has a lot of static within himself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you actually take off the sheet, he does produce a lot of static. How can I avoid something like this in the future when the owner says, oh yeah, he's been done before, we've done this before? Should I always now start with a butterfly loop? And what do you do with it?
Well, you got it. Number one,
people have different.
Yeah, number one, you got to realize that every horse is different. And because that horse has been treated in the past and he did good, doesn't mean that there's not something going on now that he is more sensitive and to what you're doing. So do you have to start with a butterfly loop on every horse every time? No. I would, if you've got a horse that you're treating for the first time, before I put the large wave wings on, I would treat the horse a few times with the regular large loop or the butterfly loop, so you're not stimulating so much tissue from the beginning. And then they'll become more comfortable to that and approach it from that position. The other thing that you can do is, if you have an animal that is extremely sensitive, if you put let's say you want to put the wings on both hips and the horse is being very sensitive to what you're saying, I want to come back and say, look at the eyes. I've had people say to me, boy, I put it on the neck or it goes down, it's jumping all the way down the shoulder, and I know that horse is uncomfortable. Look at the eye. If you look at that horse's eye and they're comfortable, you can see in their eye when they're not happy. And so if the animal's comfortable and the neck is jumping, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's not necessarily a problem. The fact that they're now, and when I said resist, walking away is one thing. Walking around is something else. Imagine with someone rubbing your shoulder and it's kind of getting to you a little bit, and so you can, oh yeah, that feels good. Do that, and you kind of lean into it. They'll do that. But if it's too much, they walk away. And that's the thing to base it on. But again, quite often, take a look at the eye, and if you need to turn it now, if you're on the lowest setting and you're using a large wave wings, you can't really turn it down, but you could lift up. You could take at the top of the large wave wings, just lift it up a couple inches. And so
what my question is, if a horse or an animal can produce their own electricity from their own body, has there been experience with people the same way?
I wouldn't say that a horse produces its own electricity. What a horse can do and what a person does is, a lot of people are very uncomfortable around microwave ovens, or they're uncomfortable near the high power lines that run through the neighborhoods, and they can tell, and that irritates them. 1 in 100 people have that type of sensitivity. Horses are the same way. You could have a horse. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. That could be a chemical imbalance. That could be toxins. That could be just a high sensitivity to electrical currents or magnetic currents from the power lines and different things. And if you get a horse that is that way, it probably won't change. But again, I'd make sure they're fully hydrated, their electrolytes are good, so on and so forth, to make sure that all those things are in the best possible. It could be a vitamin deficiency that's causing a chemical imbalance in the animal that makes it more sensitive to what we're doing. And so there's a lot of things that happen there, but every animal doesn't have that, and every animal doesn't have it all the time. But I can tell you, I've had people that they walk into my booth when I was doing trade shows and that type of stuff, and I'd have the machine on, they'd turn around and walk right out. But as I talked about, walk away or hang around, they'd walk away because they could sense it, they could feel it in their body. And there's like I say, typically it's 1 out of 100 people that have such an imbalance or such a sensitivity to the magnetic fields. But it's not just us, it's their TV, it's their computer, it's the high voltage wires outside. They can feel that stuff. And again, everybody's different.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that insight, because I just didn't experience anything like that with that sensitivity.
Yeah. So that's the way to approach that.
Okay, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Wendy. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Support at MagnaWave PEMF. Give us your name and address, and we'll send you some gear. All right. Let's see now. Let's go to another one. Michelle wants to know, can you explain how many sessions we will receive with the virtual ticket at MagnaCon? Let me get let's get Michelle on the phone here. I like this a lot. It's easier. I'm able to follow along with what's happening. That's cool.
Hi.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I heard you talking. How are you? And I just want to say I love your show. You're always so interesting. I learn something every single time. Well,
thank you so much. I hope so. That's great. So your question is, how many sessions will we receive with a virtual ticket at MagnaCon? When you're talking about sessions, you talking about all the meetings?
Yeah, it says when you go to the next page and you go to click to purchase it, it says that you're only going to get Tuesday, June 9th, and it's going to be 2 sessions. And I didn't understand how that worked.
I don't either. Because my understanding is we will do the sessions, all the sessions that we did last year. Once we started at whatever time it was, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, the whole day was live, and all the speakers would be live. And so if there's something that I'm missing, but I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, we'll get Chris, I believe, was with me. Chris has stepped away from his chair, but we'll get that checked out and get a response right back to you.
All right, I appreciate that, and I hope you're feeling well.
I am feeling great. Thank you so much, Michelle. Have a great day.
Bye, Pat.
Bye-bye. Wow, that's working pretty well. 502 414-3436. Give me a call. If you've just been a caller, we have a list of callers. Just send us an email to support@MagnaWave PEMF, and we'll send you some gear. If you want some gear, give me a call, and I'll call you back, and we'll get you some gear. We just really love it when people talk with us live, because we can a lot of times get much deeper. Will MagnaWave help someone's, Annie asked the question, will MagnaWave help someone whose ankle keeps locking up? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is, why is it locking up? What's causing it? And is our situation a short-term help, or can we do it enough to where it becomes a long-term solution? And so my first answer would be yes. My second answer would be, you probably need to treat it once or twice a day, continually for a period of time. Stop and see how long it lasts, and then try to determine, is it shoes? Is it weight? Is it gait? Is it something that is anatomical, that's just there, and it will cause it to tighten up and lock up? And then, so of course, that's where you want to talk about supplementation with hyaluronic acid and a lot of things to help the circulation in the body. Obviously, if you're having a lockup situation, you want to make sure there is a good basis of synovial fluid, which is where the hyaluronic acid comes from, and to be able to keep all those areas very fluid. And then we support that with the LZR or the MagnaWave and the devices that we utilize for the health and wellness of our animals. And but yes, it can help. Again, if it is a old situation that locks up all the time, and it's gotten to the point that the nerve and the cartilage and the tendon and everything that's involved is so bound up, I mean, it could take a lot to get to it, and maybe you can't get to it. It could be encased with scar tissue that has occurred over the years with this type situation, so we really can't get to it to relieve it. You know, that's what happens a lot of times with sports injuries and different injuries. If you can get to it before the inflammation becomes a problem, the inflammation can exacerbate the problem as much as the break or the actual injury. Sometimes when you hyperextend your ankle or your hand or your elbow, and the doctors will say, I did it one time, and the doctor said, well, that's as bad as a break. It's going to take you as long to get this thing in place as a break would do. And so when you have those types of exacerbating situations, it's just going to take a lot of work or a lot of time to get after it. So I hope that that helps with that type of question. I have to work on sensitive thoroughbreds, and sometimes I get this reaction and I run it without energy and remove it around as if I'm using energy, then slowly begin to turn the machine, and it seems to help every time. Chelsea, that's exactly right. I should have said that earlier. I used to do that. If I got a horse for the first time, sometime I would work the horse, not work on the horse, but I would work the horse for 10 minutes, moving the loop around, let them get used to what's happening, put it on very low, turn it on for just a minute or two, or a minute, let it go, let them start to feel it, turn it off, continue the movement, and you can build their comfort to what's going on. Some horses don't want to be clipped, and so they'll get clipped, but there's a lot of different ways you can approach clipping those horses to get their attention someplace else, start a particular way, brush them first, clip them second. A lot of different things to do to improve those types of situations. Great questions. I'm really enjoying the questions today. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left. If you have a question, please post it in the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer it. And I really am liking this new way of doing it. Thank you, Chris, for getting this set up. Okay, Leslie has a question for us. I have questions about guidelines and headaches. Okay, let's get Leslie on the phone. And Dawn's got a question here in just a moment. Two ringy-dingies.
Hello?
Leslie.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Have 2 questions.
All right.
The first one is, looking through on the app, the expanded guidelines, I'm noticing more things where they recommend daily sessions, and that's often not possible for people financially or schedule-wise.
Correct.
What would be the next best interval
Well,
for those situations?
the next best interval, and I apologize for saying it this way, but the next best interval is whatever they're comfortable with. And, you know, and basically what happens there, let's say if you treated someone 5 days in a row, but yet, and to get some results starting to come, it may mean that you need to treat them 5 weeks in a row, or at least 2 days a week for 3 or 4 weeks. They'll get some recovery on the first treatment, but it may not be really visible. But yet, if you can go 2 or 3 days afterwards and do it again, 2 or 3 days afterwards and do it again, and then maybe you only go once a week or once every 2 weeks, you will get a buildup of relief and a buildup of what's going on, but you just do it as much as you can and as much as they're comfortable with.
Okay.
Does that help?
And my second question, yes. My second question is, I get headaches, they're called cervicogenic headaches. They originate in my neck, and I do have scoliosis, so I'm sure that's a factor. I've tried the butterfly, the large loop, the paddle under my feet, the paddle under my head, and I often don't get any relief. I was wondering if you had any suggestions for other things to try.
How long are you treating and how often?
Well, I often, like several times a week, I'll lie on the mat and make sure it's up under my neck. I have a semi, and I'll do it sometimes 20, 30 minutes. When I have a headache, I do the same, or I'll do, I've even done as long as 40 minutes, or tried.
Have you, let me ask you this.
Attachments.
Have you been to a chiropractor?
Yeah, I go periodically.
Okay, and here's what happened to me. Now, I'm not saying this is the same situation with you, and I don't have the headaches that you have. However, I've got a spot just below my shoulder blade on the right side between my spine and the tip of my shoulder blade that I've got. I'm going to call it a stress module. I got a spot that tightens up, and I really don't notice it there, but I get it in my neck and on my shoulder to the point that I can't sleep. And so if you can find out, maybe it's a situation, and I found out where it was by going to a masseuse. And, you know, they'll tell you where you're tight and which muscles and so on and so forth. And so he was able to find the spot. Now, I probably could have done some work and found it myself with the paddle or something, but I was just treating the area. I was treating the back of my neck and the shoulder. When I went down and treated by the shoulder blade, I really got results. And I now will treat that if I can, if I think about it, and if I'm doing things, I'll treat it every day, just for 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm using a machine. I'm using the Spiro Go. So we're in the same strength area as what you have. So, you know, but again, you might do it a little longer, 15 or 20 minutes as opposed to 10, but either way. And that's what I've done. So my question would be, could you find that maybe it's not exactly where you're treating, even though that's where you're feeling it?
Yeah, that's a possibility, because I do have some trigger points, and some of the trigger points are in the traps, and some specific gallbladder acupuncture points where those are tender, and then you can press on that, and then it refers up to my temple. Sure,
and the other thing that you might be able to do, is hook up with somebody in your area that maybe has a Pulse Pro or a Julian or a Max or something like that, and treat yourself a couple of times to maybe get ahead of it, and then you can utilize your device to stay ahead of it.
Oh, okay. And is the Pulse Pro still on sale and still available?
I think so. So. Elaine handles that stuff, and I get doing other things, and where they are in that particular promotion. Let me see if Chris is back with us. It is still going on. The sale is going on.
Okay, great.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, we got a couple. Let me hang up this one. All right, let's, Dawn's got a question. Let's come over here and give Dawn a call. And we'll take one more after this. I'll check real quick for other questions because we are about out of time. Got a couple of minutes left. We like to keep it there. Hello, Dawn, Pat Zemer.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
I'm great. Do you have a question?
I've got Bob here too.
Oh, great. Do you have a question for me?
I do. I was wondering, when we outreach to veterinarians, what is the usual way to approach them? Like, for example, do we ask for referrals and leave brochures? Or do some practitioners give the vet like a percentage of their fees per treatment? Like if they treat the animals in the office, the vet like would arrange that.
I've had people that have worked across the board in those type situations. You get, and I'm going to use the term that veterinarians have used with me, they're ethical practice standards. They don't like to do something and then make a percentage off of it. They would rather set it up to where they're referred to you, and what you all do beyond that is set up that way. Now I have veterinarians and other doctors that bring practitioners into the office and set up basically they're there and they'll refer to them, and then they may have a side arrangement. Some people are they don't want somebody thinking, well, you're only suggesting this so you make money on it. Understand? And so it becomes, it becomes an ethical type of thing. But the number one thing you want to make sure of is that your veterinarian is on board with you, that they believe in what you're doing and understand what you're doing. Some of them will say, look, you help me a little bit here and I'll refer some patients to you. And I don't mean help them monetarily, although that may be what they're looking for, but maybe they want to be treated, and you take care of me and I'm going to send you some customers and that type of thing. So there's a lot of different ways to work that. One way to do it also would be to go to the veterinarian, and basically if they have a space or if they're referring someone to you, you're paying them rent for either their office space or rent for the customer. And so they're not saying, oh, I get, the more they do, I get more money. It's just a set up type situation, and people are different. Some people don't have any problem with that. I mean, you go to some doctors' offices now today and you see them selling a lot of integrative types of things, whether it's a device or supplements or whatever it is that you used to never see. Certainly you go to chiropractors, you'll see that, massage therapists, acupuncturists, PMF therapists, you'll see people having ancillary products that are beneficial for health and wellness that they're doing. And so that game is changing. A lot more doctors and veterinarians are becoming much more integrative in what their thoughts are and how they want to work together with their customers.
That was really helpful. I hadn't thought about that, the paid rent for the day or for the space. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So there's options there.
There are certainly options, and if you talk to a vet and they tell you some things and you want to get a little clarity, give us a call. Let's talk about it. Maybe we can help a way to model something for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okie doke.
I have one other quickie question.
All right.
We have a Pulse Pro for the office, and what machine do you recommend to be a second machine to travel with?
I would travel with the semi devices are good to travel. They're lightweight, they're smaller. The Soul Pro or the Soul is a device that's good to travel. It's small. When you say travel, you're talking about traveling locally or traveling in the air?
No, locally.
Yeah. Certainly the Soul devices or the semi devices are easy to put in the trunk of the car or in the back of the car and to travel with. And they work perfect.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
That's great advice.
All right.
I do like the Soul. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dawn. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay. Oh, let me hang up. There we go. It hung up. Let me see if there's anything. Okay, there's some comments there. Let me come back here and make one more call. This is to Tina. Have a friend who broke her shoulder. She would like to try MagnaWave treatments to speed up the healing process. What would be your suggestion? When to start and how long? I told her we want to heal from the inside out.
Good morning, Pat.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So you were telling me about a friend who's got a broken shoulder, wants to use MagnaWave. What's your suggestion be? When to start and for how long? I would treat initially, if possible, I'd treat 3 to 4 or 5 days in a row, and then I'd treat maybe once or twice a week. If once or twice a week only is all they are able to do because of location or cost or whatever the situation may be, it's beneficial to do that, and they will see some improvement in their healing time.
Wait a while though before, like how long after the break is fresh?
On an animal, we recommend 10 to 11 days. On a person, when people are trying to help their own health and wellness after that type of injury, if there's no bleeding or anything going on, you can help their sense of well-being and their healing process from the get-go.
Okay,
so
I was approaching it as kind of like the same thing with the animal, is giving it a little bit of time.
There's nothing wrong with doing that. The reason we did that on animals to begin with is because they would do an x-ray, there would be a break, they'd do an x-ray after we'd been using PMF therapy on them, and they'd look at it and they'd say, well, hey, it looks pretty good. Well, you tell somebody it looks pretty good, what are they going to do? They're going to go out and run pretty good. And they don't need to. And so by waiting, because what happens is we want those bones, and as docs have told me, they want those bones to grow from the inside out. And that way they got a good thing to x-ray to see where it's at, to see how well it's healing. And if you do it quickly, you're going to heal from the outside in, or you could potentially start that process. Then you kind of lose basis as to what you're doing. On an animal or a horse, that's very important, that they can do x-rays and really see what they're looking at. On a human, we know we can't move our arm, so we don't, or it hurts us, so we don't move it as much. So you can treat them more readily. But an animal is going to try to go and do, and you know what I mean? So that's the animal side, we wait 10 to 12 days and then start. On the human side, if it's controlled, everything's in good place, and you want to help them feel a little better and help them maybe have some inflammation reduction, you can go right after.
Okay, I was thinking I didn't think of it as that way, of looking at it as like an x-ray view and stuff. I was thinking of it as wanting it from the inside out, as for strength, versus going from the outside in healing.
Well, it'll heal.
That way.
It'll heal either way. It's going to go all the way through. If it starts healing, it'll heal, unless there's something exacerbating the non-healing that the vets are in control of, or what's going on. But it was really that whole recommendation came from a veterinarian when we had a chance to sit down and talk about that. And I believe I was in California at the time with some veterinarians, and was their feeling, and they thought that's what they wanted to see happen, and that's what we did.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Support at MagnaWavePEMF.com. Send us your name and address, and we'll send you some gear. All right, we are out of time. It's been a great day. Okay, there are some questions. If you have a question, you can send it to that 502-414-3436, and we will call you next week, 502-414-3436, so to get your questions answered. And Elaine will have this same type of thing. If I can't be here and she's doing it, we've had trouble keeping up with who texted me and where I am and what phone she has. So this way it'll all be together, and we can track this activity a lot better. So we certainly, it's been a great day, a bunch of great questions. Again, thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to talking with you and seeing you next week on the MagnaWave office hours. Wave on to better health, and have a great week. We love you guys. Bye-bye.